Hey, what's going on, Fit Fam? Coach Sheldon here. I want to go over the warm up and explain to you the different movements, give a little more context to why we do those movements, and give you some coaching cues so you get the most benefit from the movements as well. So, first, we're going to start off with our max breathing dead bug. So, what we're going to do, we're going to lay flat on our back and arms up above the shoulders, knees above the hips. We're going to tuck the hips under slightly. So, in order to get the most benefit, you want to tuck the hips under. That's really going to help push the ribs down, push that low back into the ground as well. All right, so we're here, tuck the hips under. And what we're going to do is we're going to pretend like we have a canister of air, a balloon right here. This whole midsection here is a balloon. What we're going to do is fill that balloon up with air. 3 to 5 seconds in, blow the air out. 6 to 10 seconds out. 3 to 5 seconds in, 6 to 10 seconds out. I don't know if you can see this. When my hips tucked under, my low back really engaged with the ground, and me really breathing. You might be able to see me kind of shaking just a tad. It should be a little bit challenging to be in that position, holding those hips tucked under, keeping that low back, just holding this position, keeping the hips tucked under, keeping that low back engaged with the ground is challenging my core. Now, when adding that breathing aspect, filling up this canister with air and blowing all the air out, then that adds extra component to that to make it challenging. So, if doing right, you should actually feel that. Now, why we do that is that we are focusing on getting that diaphragm to work and getting your spine in neutral position. When we fill that canister of air up, what that is doing is that is teaching your body to learn how to brace itself. When we have that full canister and we're lifting, that helps create a sort of platform for us to stabilize our spine, so to speak. So filling up that canister keeps everything nice and stable, so your spine is more protected during your lifts, and you're more stronger and more stable. Right? And we're teaching our body to do that. Next up, we have hip swivel. So here we're working on internal and external rotation of the hips. Now, a lot of people really have issues with one or both of those, especially the internal rotation of the hips, and that's what this is helping to work with. So, a couple different variations. One variation, all right, is here, and a lot of people may be here. It's kind of a modified version where the hands are behind us. We're going to start in that shin box position here. Knee is right by, or thigh is right by the foot. And we're just going to switch it over, shift and shift. And you go to what's comfortable for you. Not everyone is not going to be able to get both knees down, especially you may find one side is a little stickier than the other. The other variation, which we want to advance to if we can, is here. Boom. All right. Side to side, trying to stay nice and tall throughout that movement. And once again, that's working on the rotation of the hip, both internally and externally, which is what we want to do to grease the groove in those hips so we don't lose that mobility, which is so important for not just for our workouts, but also for overall life in general as we get older. Because most of us are not spring chickens anymore. All right. So, next up, we're going to go shin box to reach. All right. So, we're going to be in that shin box position, which is here. We're going to drive up. I'll show you one variation where you drive up and you're going to place the hand back, reach up and back, and then come back down. All right. You'll drive up under control, reach back, hand back, come down under control. So you really want to control that movement all the way through. And then you'll hip swivel to the other side. Now, if you have issues with that, we can of course use our hands to help us come up and then come back down. You may also use some sort of matting as well if you're on a harder floor, if just the pressure on the ground hurts that. Um, if that doesn't work, you can also just do a glute bridge as well, where we're laying back, driving our hips up, if either of those variations don't work. But once again, this helps with internal external rotation of the hips. It also works on core stability, so we're learning how to, well, drive the hips up and forward, getting those glutes working, getting that core stabilized at the same time, and then coming down, right? One of the things that we tend to lose as we get older is or one key indicator of our abilities in life expectancy is our ability to get up and down without using our hands. And this is one way that you can do that. So when we start to lose that ability to get up and down, that means we're losing strength. We're also losing some mobility potentially. And so if you can come from here, come up, come to standing, right? Or whatever the case, there's different ways of doing that, but this is one way. And we're working on some of those um, stabilizers in the hips and in the core as we're doing that. So that is a great one. And then also when we're doing our reach back, stabilizing, keeping those glutes tight, and then we're stretching throughout the thoracic spine, upper back area, getting a good stretch there. One of the things I missed, which was exercise 2, is our baby roller side bridge. So we're here. This is the second exercise. We're here, knees directly over hips, arms directly over shoulders. We're going to roll over to our side, find our elbow and our knee, come up, push the hips forward, top knee is up. We're going to come down under control and come over to the other side. Push the hips forward, drive, and you want to control this motion all the way through. Let your core do the work. You don't want to just kind of drop down, plop down, and then do one of these things to get to the other side. So once again, working on core strength, core stability. Think about how a baby learns kind of how to move. That's the kind of foundation. We're going from the ground, moving up. A baby learns how to roll over onto its side, and this is a variation of that sort of primal movements, and that's what this helps with, as well as core stability, core strength as well. And get a little shoulder stability too. Next up, Spider-Man reach and rotate. So we're here. We're going to be in a plank position, or bring your foot outside your hand. Now, ideally, you want to push this front knee forward, back knee back. We're going to create a lot of hip separation by doing that, working on hip mobility. We're going to reach long, so we work on reach long. I just think about touching the wall in front of me, and then touching the ceiling, coming all the way around. And we're going to push back into our downward dog position. I like to push, try to get my heels flat, and push my hips all the way back as far as I can so my head comes between my arms. And then we come to the other side, pushing that front knee forward, reaching long, coming all the way, swiping the ceiling, and working your way through. So this one gets a lot of good hip mobility in there. You also get mobility through our T-spine. We tend to lose mobility here, right? So you want to create the mobility by rotating through, and you're getting those two body parts to kind of work sort of almost opposite one another. So get those hips working, mobilize, as well as the T-spine mobilize. Great exercise and really exercise. Our half-nil pigeon with rotation. So we're going to be here. You're going to bring one leg back. You'll come down and come back up. Come back and drive back up. All right. That is half-nil pigeon. All right, next up we have our half-nil pigeon. So we're going to be here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tuck the hips under. So what this does, the half kneeling portion, we're going to work on stretching our hip flexor right up front. So tucking the hips under will help open up that hip flexor so it's more activated to be able to be stretched. We also get a little glute activation as well, but it opens up, basically tightens in here. So when we shift forward, we get a better stretch in the hip flexor, which tends to be tight in a lot of people from sit down all day. And then we're going to bring that leg, wrap it behind, so we get a little hip mobility right here. And then you'll come back up, tuck the hips under, shift forward to get a stretch in that hip flexor, wrap that leg back around. All right, switch that to halfway. There we go, single leg RDL. So we're going to come to standing, hands behind the head. We're going to hinge at the hips, knee is soft. All right, we're going to come down, try to get nice and long. Come up, rotate right, rotate left, get nice and long, just like so. So we're working on hip mobility, also get a little strength as well with that. And you're working on balance as well. So you have to stabilize on that off foot. and get rotation. So you get a little bit of core work as well during that one. If you have a hard time with that, then you can go hands down, just like so. Lunge to open book. So what we're going to do a reverse lunge. We're going to step back into a reverse lunge, open up. So get a little mobility work in the legs, just a little bit, but really, this is really about opening up, getting T-spine mobility, getting that upper back once again to open up, because we're always like this most of the day.